Today, we are going to make some grass. No, I'm not in Colorado, so it's not going to be that kind of grass. It's our techniques that are so simple and sensible, your modelers have practically built themselves.
Hello folks, it's Mad Dog Merv and welcome to today's show. Today on Up Ship Creek, we are going to look at doing some battle damage to a ship. A little while ago I had one of my viewers make a comment on the USS Arizona that my friend Chris had done the battle damage on. And the comment was, you ought to do a video on how you do battle damage. So I thought, you know what, that's a really good idea. There's a couple of different times when I've done battle damage on ships, and probably not a bad idea to pass it along to you folks. And if there's anything useful you can find in my techniques, feel free. It's not really difficult to do, and we'll go over how I do it, how my friend Chris does it, which is pretty similar. And these are techniques you could use for aircraft and other things as well, although this is kind of specifically for ships, 700 scale, 350 scale, that type of thing. So stick with Mad Dog Merv today as we go about looking at how I do battle damage, and particularly for this USS Arizona. So we're going to start here with the Hiru, this photo of the burned out forward section. And many years ago, I wanted to replicate this in 1/700 scale. So I took my 1/700 scale Hiru and went ahead and used the techniques that you're going to see here to replicate this. The elevator there on the right hand side by the island as well. So this is my friend Chris Allred, and Chris is the master modeler behind the USS Arizona sinking. Sinking into the mud at Pearl Harbor. We covered this last year, and one of my viewers had asked, could we please see how this type of thing is done. So that's what this video is going to be about, is how we would replicate any kind of battle damage that we want to do on ships. This will work for tanks, aircraft as well, but specifically this is for ships. And you look at the battle damage he did and how absolutely awesome this replication is. So we're probably best to start out with the tools that we're going to need to do whatever battle damage we're going to do. So start out, of course, with a good X-Acto knife and some different blades, not just the number 11, but some chisel blades and whatnot. Of course, to me, is extra thin cement is a must when doing any kind of scratch building. And a bunch of strip styrene, different sizes, different thicknesses. I like to use 0.10 and 0.20 and then different widths. And then also some sheet styrene, and I always use evergreen. I don't use anything else but evergreen, and just V-groove and different types, different thicknesses as well. Soldering pencil is critical, and a heat gun is actually very helpful as well. We'll show you how I use these here in a few minutes. You're going to need some kind of putty, either the Tamiya basic type, which I like to use, or some Squadron green, or I prefer the Squadron white myself. Milliput is very helpful in constructing different shapes and different things. I find Milliput's very useful. Some super glue. Hate this stuff, but it's an absolute necessity. And then some foil, some lead foil is also very helpful in doing scratch building, and a pin vise, which I didn't show here. So first, it helps to do a little bit of research, and I'm not showing you these pictures close up because some of them do have copyrights on them, so I didn't want to violate that. But you find some pictures of the subject you want to do. It's also helpful if you have plans of a ship. And I just happen to have ship's plans for, this is not the Arizona, but I have some for the Arizona as well as some of the others. So the kit that I would recommend would be this Banner 1/350th Arizona. I built it and actually just built it as it was the morning of December 7th is what I've been working on. And actually, it wasn't the Banner that I got. It was this particular one with Mini Hobby, whatever it is this week. This mold just seems to be passed around from company to company. So anyway, I went ahead and built it, and this is where I'm at. I'm adding some of the details that I know of from the photos that I have worked on, or I've worked with. This this takes a lot of work. That kit is pretty bad. But here's the photo that I have of the bridge area. This was taken just the week before the attack, and you can see those life rafts there. So nice piece of detail work. So we're going to look at this photo here, this famous photo, and this is what I want to try to replicate, right? How am I going to do this? It's very overwhelming because you start thinking, well, where do I start? How do I start? And you just get so, how can I put it, confused when you look at something like this. I'm going to help you break it down. So let's put this in force. So we're going to look at the quadrant on the bottom right. Okay, that makes it easier. We can just focus on that bottom right area. Well, that's a lot of damage to have to do. So here it is right here. Ooh, yeah, this is where we're going to start, but that's a lot of work. So we're going to subdivide it again, as you can see. And we're going to take this area. That makes it a lot easier, but still, it's still going to be confusing. So I really need to try and cut it down even further if I can do that. That way I'm just taking a bite. You know, how do you eat an elephant? A bite at a time. So now we're going to take the lower left of these 4 that I just divided it into again. The lower left of those 4, the 4 subdivisions, and here you go. That's a great starting point. You can see a 525 gun there on the right hand side, pointing up. This would be a great starting point to doing this. Okay, so let's look at some of the techniques I use and how I actually do battle damage.
Okay, I actually looked for an old bridge that I thought I had, and I couldn't find it, and I wasn't going to tear up one of my ones that's already slated for a project. So I thought I would just show you a few of these techniques on some scrap styrene, because really that's all it is taking either components you already have or taking stock styrene and making what you want. So we looked at the pictures and told you what the tools were. So a couple of different things here. For my decking, I will usually use a V-groove. Usually I'll use a V-groove plastic. We're just going to use this as an example here, okay, of decking. Now I want to build like a splinter shield, but I want to buckle that splinter shield. So I'm not going to use my straight edge because I won't need necessarily a straight edge on this, because this is going to be a battle damaged piece, but we'll just kind of show you here. Let's score this and this. Scrap piece. Okay, so this would be, part of a splinter shield or part of a wall, whatever, on a ship, but I want to make it look buckled. And there's a couple of ways I can do this. Now I like to use a thinner styrene for a piece that I'm going to be doing battle damage on. I would use a thicker piece of styrene. You can kind of see here the difference in the thickness. I'd use something for this that I need more stability. So a couple of different things you can do. I can cut a little slice out of this here. kind of a V-shaped slice. And remove that carefully. Okay, and then I would just glue that back together like this. But I do need to bend this a little bit. So how would I bend that? Well, a good way to do that is with the heat gun. We're going to heat up. We're going to heat up the piece. It's starting to melt, so that's too hot. And then we'll bend it together. Or we can bend it together and heat it up. A couple of different techniques to do. Ouch, that gets hot quick. And see, we've bent that, okay, on an angle. Now we want to put kind of like a wave bend in it. So again, and I like to use my heat gun on low. Just kind of put a little crease, a little bend in it. You can see kind of a crinkly bend there. Okay, now in this particular piece, I'm not going to bend the deck, but I would use the same technique. I wouldn't cut all the way through, but I would make a slice here, and then just slightly bend this up. Actually, I guess I could do that for you. Let's do that. Okay, so we're going to, using this piece as a straight edge, I'm going to measure how far I need to go, so about right there. We're going to make a slight cut. Don't want to go all the way through, although if I did, it would be okay. We'll put this up, okay. Now I'm going to slightly bend this piece and try not to snap it off altogether. See, it's got the bend in it. Now I'm going to glue this on. And when I glue things on that are styrene, it's usually going to be with the Tamiya Ultra Thin Cement. It's just the way it works. It's so easy, it's hassle-free. For scratch building, it really is the way to go. So, hold that on there for a second. Gotta hold it in the right place. Oops, I got a little bit of the bend on there already, so that's okay. You get the idea. So, you know, here already we have a piece that's, you know, that's battle damaged. So now, how about nicks and dings and things like that? Okay, so most splinter protection had reinforcing ribs, and these are not the right size, or scale I should say. Should probably cut these in half. Now, yes, I could put them on ahead of time, and if I wanted them in this bent area, that probably should have been what I did. But watch this. Take one of these, put it right here. It's the beauty of the Tamiya glue and the fact that I'm using very thin styrene. What's going on there? Come on, there we go. Enough Tamiya glue to do something. We'll just trim the excess. Okay. So there's part of the splinter reinforcer. And then for the other one, put a big old gob of glue there. Burn this thing right in there. Trim this up just a bit. Okay, now I want some shell splinters on here, like a shell exploded somewhere near. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to move my heat gun over, and I'm going to use my soldering pencil, and just no rhyme or reason to the pattern, because that's how, you know, shell fragments. I'll make a little zip here, maybe just a pinpoint one there, all different sizes and shapes. That one went all the way through. Just some different directions, and hopefully you guys can all see that with it being white. Okay, so now I'm going to take my X-Acto. I'm going to carefully try to remove some of the raised plastic where I melted those shots, if you will. Because what happened is it made indentations into the plastic, but then it, you know, like when you melt something, it makes a little curly area or a raised area. I don't know how to describe it best. So I'm going to remove those, and then I'm going to go back with some silver, and I'm going to pick out, or kind of a gunmetal color, you know, whatever works for the metal that you're trying to, you know, whatever the material's supposed to be. So we're gonna do that next, and we'll be right back. Okay, so here's the final piece. Is I'm going to take some silver, or a metallic color of some kind. In this case, I'm just going to use silver for this, and I'm going to touch these little areas where I scraped with the soldering pencil to simulate the scraped up metal. There you go. I just did this on that blue that I put on there to kind of simplify it so you could kind of see what I'm doing here, but this gives the effect of maybe a nearby bomb burst and the shrapnel that hit it. So you can work on different colors, different things like that, but this is just an example for you. Hopefully this will help.